It's a quiet night in 1989, in a suburban neighborhood in Maryland, where the streets are lined with neat lawns and glowing streetlights. Lisa, a single mother in her late 30s, is asleep in her modest two-story home, her young son tucked in down the hall. The house is still. The only sounds the faint hum of the refrigerator and the occasional passing car. Lisa's bedroom window is cracked open, letting in a cool breeze that stirs the curtains. She's a light sleeper, attuned to the rhythms of her home, but tonight she rests deeply, the day's worries fading into dreams. The clock on her nightstand glows softly, its red digits reading 3:30 a.m. A sudden chill pulls Lisa from sleep, her eyes fluttering open. The room is bathed in a strange blue light, not the soft glow of moonlight, but something sharper, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. She sits up, her heart quickening, and glances at the clock. It's frozen at 3:33 a.m., the seconds unmoving. The air feels heavy, charged, like the moment before a storm, and the breeze from the window has stopped. Lisa listens, expecting to hear her son's soft breathing through the baby monitor, but there's only silence, a stillness that presses against her ears. She swings her legs out of bed, her bare feet touching the cool floor, and steps toward the window. Outside, the neighborhood is quiet. The street lights dimmed, but the blue light pulses, casting eerie shadows across the lawn. It's coming from above, from something hovering silently over the house. Lisa peers through the curtains, her breath shallow, and sees it, a shape, large and oval, its surface smooth and dark, absorbing the night. It's not a helicopter, not a plane, but something else. Its edges blurred, as if it doesn't fully belong here. The light pulses from its underside, bathing the street in a cold, unnatural glow. Lisa's skin prickles, a static charge running through her, and she feels a hum, low and resonant, vibrating in her chest. She turns to check on her son, but her body feels sluggish, her movements slow, like wading through water. Before she can reach the door, a shadow moves in the corner of the room, tall, impossibly thin, its outline wrong, like a figure stretched beyond human proportions. Its face is featureless, save for eyes that glow faintly, large and black, like polished obsidian. Lisa tries to scream, sifting through her memories, but her voice catches, trapped in her throat. The figure doesn't move, but she feels its gaze, heavy and unblinking, pulling at her thoughts. A presence brushes against her mind, not words, but a sensation, like fingers pulling up. Images of her son's first steps, her old high school, the smell of her mother's perfume. The hum grows louder, and Lisa feels her body lift, not physically, but as if her mind is being pulled upward through the ceiling, into a space that's too vast, too cold. She's in a room now, not her bedroom, but a place of smooth metal walls, lit by a soft, sourceless light. Instruments hum around her, their purpose unclear. And she feels hands, not human, too smooth, too precise, touching her arms, her face. The figures are there, more of them now, their eyes endless, their movements fluid yet mechanical. They don't speak, but Lisa feels their questions, probing her thoughts, her fears, her life. She tries to move, to call for her son, but her body is heavy, her mind clouded, like she's floating in a dream she can't control. Images flood her mind, stars, endless and unfamiliar, planets with rings of ice, skies that shimmer with colors she can't name. The figures watch, their eyes unyielding, and Lisa feels exposed, as if her entire being is laid bare. The hum shifts, becoming a rhythm, almost soothing, and she feels time stretch, the seconds slowing until they're meaningless. The room pulses with the blue light, and Lisa's thoughts blur, her sense of self slipping like sand through her fingers. She sees her son's face, his smile, and clings to it, a lifeline in the endless space. The figures gesture, their hands moving in patterns she can't follow, and the hum crescendos, a sound that's more feeling than noise. Darkness falls, soft and complete, like sinking into a deep sleep. When Lisa opens her eyes, she's back in her bed, the blankets tangled around her. The clock reads 5:12 a.m., nearly 2 hours gone with no memory to fill them. The blue light is gone. The room, quiet. The hum replaced by the familiar drone of the refrigerator. Lisa's heart races as she checks her arms, finding faint marks, small, circular, like pinpricks that don't hurt. Her nightgown is inside out, though she's certain she put it on correctly. She rushes to her son's room, finding him asleep, unharmed, his chest rising and falling softly. But something feels wrong. The house too still, the air too heavy. Lisa doesn't sleep again that night. She sits in the kitchen, a cup of coffee untouched, staring at the marks on her arms. She checks the windows, the doors, but finds no sign of entry, no trace of the light. The neighborhood is normal by morning, the streetlights glowing, the lawns untouched. She tries to tell herself it was a dream, a trick of exhaustion, but the marks are real. And her son's drawings later that day unsettle her. He sketches tall figures with big eyes, calling them the night people who stood by his window. Lisa's stomach twists, but she smiles, tucking the drawings away, afraid to look at them too long. Days pass, and Lisa goes through the motions: work, school drop-offs, dinners. But the night lingers. She avoids looking at the sky, keeps the curtains drawn, but the feeling of being watched doesn't fade. She starts waking at 3:33 a.m., her heart pounding, certain. She hears the hum again, faint and distant, like a call from above. The marks on her arms don't fade, glowing faintly under certain lights, a quiet reminder of the room, the figures, the endless stars. She tells no one, not her friends, not her family, afraid they'll think she's unraveling. But her son keeps drawing, his pictures filled with those figures, their eyes always watching. Lisa starts keeping a journal, writing down what she remembers, the light, the figures, the metal room, hoping it will ground her. The pages fill with questions. What did they want? Why her? Were they still out there in the sky, in her dreams? She avoids the news, afraid of hearing about strange lights, afraid it would confirm what she already knows. The neighborhood feels different now, too. Quiet, too ordinary, as if hiding something beneath its surface. She checks on her son at night, watching him sleep, wondering if he saw more than he says, if he felt the same presence. Years later, Lisa moves to a new town, a fresh start, she tells herself. But the dreams follow, the blue light pulsing at the edge of her sleep, the figures standing just out of sight. She keeps the journal hidden, its pages worn from rereading, a record of a night she can't explain. Her son stops drawing the figures, but he looks at the sky sometimes, his eyes distant, and Lisa wonders what he remembers. She lives her life, but the hum is always there, in the quiet moments, a whisper from the stars. The sky outside her new home is vast, and Lisa avoids it, but the feeling of those eyes, endless and watching, never leaves her, a secret she carries in the stillness of the night. It's a stormy night in 1976 on a rocky island off the coast of Scotland, where the sea churns relentlessly against jagged cliffs. Thomas, a lighthouse keeper in his early 50s, is alone in his weathered tower, the beacon's steady rhythm cutting through the fog and rain. The lighthouse is his world, a solitary post he's manned for years, its routines as familiar as his own heartbeat. The wind howls outside, rattling the windows, and the waves crash with a force that shakes the stone walls. Thomas sits in the small living quarters, a cup of tea cooling on the table, his logbook open as he records the night's weather. The clock on the wall reads 11:45 p.m., ticking softly in the dim light. The radio, his only link to the mainland, crackles faintly, tuned to a maritime channel that carries weather updates and the occasional chatter from passing ships. Tonight, the signal is weak, drowned by static. But Thomas doesn't mind the solitude. He's used to the island's isolation, the way the sea seems to swallow sound. As he writes, the static shifts, replaced by a series of clicks and tones too precise to be random, like a code he can't decipher. He adjusts the dial, expecting the weather report to return, but the clicks persist, forming a pattern that feels deliberate, almost alive. The air in the room grows heavy, charged with a faint hum that he feels in his chest, like the pulse of the storm, but deeper, stranger. Thomas sets down his pen and steps to the radio, turning the knobs, but the clicks follow, growing louder, more insistent. The lighthouse beam stutters, its steady sweep faltering, casting erratic shadows across the walls. He climbs the spiral stairs to the lantern room, his boots echoing on the iron steps, and checks the machinery. The lens is fine, the motor humming, but the light flickers as if something is interfering. Through the rain-streaked glass, he sees them, lights in the sky, amber and steady, moving in, a slow spiral above the churning sea. They're not lightning, not ship signals, but something else, silent, despite the howling wind. Thomas grabs his binoculars, his hands steady from years of practice, and peers into the storm. The lights pulse, their glow cutting through the fog, and he sees a shape within them, angular like a shard of obsidian, its edges shimmering with faint green pulses. It hovers over the water, too large to be a plane, too silent to be a helicopter. The hum from the radio grows louder, vibrating through the tower, and Thomas feels it in his bones, a rhythm that seems to sync with his breath. He tries the radio again, but the clicks form, words in his mind, not heard, but felt. "We see your light." The phrase is clear, cold, like a statement carved in stone. His heart quickens, but he can't look away. The shape moves closer, gliding effortlessly against the wind, and Thomas sees figures within it, tall, translucent, their forms fluid, like shadows caught in glass. They don't approach, but their presence is heavy, a weight that presses against his thoughts. Memories flash unbidden, his childhood fishing trips, the smell of his wife's lavender soap, the creak of the lighthouse door, pulled to the surface as if someone is sifting through his mind. The hum shifts, becoming a low chant, almost soothing, and Thomas feels time slow, the storm fading into a distant murmur. The figures gesture, their movements slow and deliberate, and the amber lights tighten their spiral, their glow washing over the lighthouse. Thomas grips the binoculars, his knuckles white, and feels a pull, not physical but mental, as if he's being drawn upward into the shape above the sea. Images flood his mind, stars in unfamiliar patterns, oceans that shimmer with strange colors, skies that pulse with life. The figures watch, their eyes like voids, and Thomas feels exposed, his life laid bare before them. He tries to move, to call out, but his body is heavy, his voice trapped, like he's caught in a dream he can't control. The hum crescendos, a sound that's more feeling than noise, and Thomas's vision blurs, the world tilting into a haze. Darkness falls, soft and complete, like sinking into a quiet sea. When he opens his eyes, he's in the lantern room, slumped in a chair, the binoculars on the floor. The storm rages on, the lighthouse beam steady again, cutting through the fog. The clock reads 2:03 a.m. Over 2, hours gone with no memory to fill them. The radio is silent, its dial set to a frequency Thomas doesn't recognize, and the hum is gone, replaced by the crash of waves and the wail of the wind. He checks the logbook, expecting to find his last entry, but the page is blank, his pen still capped. His hands tremble as he descends to the living quarters, and he notices a faint mark on his palm, a thin triangular pattern like a burn that doesn't hurt. It's smooth, almost glowing under the lamp, and it sends a shiver through him. Thomas sits, staring out the window, but the sky is empty. The amber light's gone, the sea a churning gray. He tries to write in the log, but the words won't come, his mind clouded with fragments of stars and translucent figures. Sleep eludes him that night. Thomas sits by the radio, its silence louder than the storm, the hum echoing in his memory like a song. He can't forget. He checks the lighthouse machinery, the windows, but finds no sign of the lights, no trace of the shape. By morning, the storm has passed, the sea calm, but the island feels different, too vast, too quiet. Thomas keeps the mark on his palm hidden, wearing gloves even in the warmth, afraid to see it in the light. He tells himself it was a trick of the storm, a fault in the radio, but the mark says otherwise, a quiet reminder of the night. Days pass, and Thomas goes through his duties, polishing the lens, logging the weather. But the lighthouse feels less like home. He avoids the lantern room at night, staying below, but the feeling of being watched lingers, a prickle at the back of his neck. He starts finding marks on the tower's walls, faint scratches, like the pattern on his palm, appearing overnight, etched into the stone. He scrubs them away, but they return deeper each time, as if something is claiming the lighthouse. He stops radioing the mainland about strange signals, tired of their skeptical replies, but he knows what he saw, what he felt. Thomas retires the next year, leaving the island for a small cottage inland. He tells himself it's for rest, but deep down, it's the sea. He's escaping, the sky that feels too alive. The dreams follow him, though, the amber lights, the translucent figures, their eyes, watching from the dark. He keeps a notebook, writing what he remembers, the clicks, the shape, the voice in his mind, hoping it will anchor him. The pages fill with questions. What did they want? Why the lighthouse? Were they still out there? In the storm? In the stars? He avoids the coast now, keeps his eyes on the ground, but the hum is there, in the quiet moments, a whisper from the sea. Years later, he hears a sailor's tale of lights off the island, a story that mirrors his own. Thomas listens, his heart racing, but says nothing. He carries the night with him, a weight he can't set down. The mark on his palm never fades, a silent proof of the shape, the figures, the hum. Thomas lives his life, but the lighthouse is always there, in his dreams, calling him back to the light, to the eyes that saw him in the storm. It's a warm summer night in 2005 in a bustling neighborhood in New York City, where the skyline glitters and the streets hum with life. Alex, a photographer in his late 20s, is on the rooftop of his apartment building, a quiet perch above the city's chaos. He's there to capture the skyline, his camera set up on a tripod, its lens trained on the distant lights of Manhattan. The air smells of asphalt and distant food carts, and the faint wail of sirens drifts up from below. Alex adjusts his camera, the shutter clicking softly, his mind lost in the rhythm of the city. The clock on his phone reads 11:17 p.m., and he plans to stay another hour, chasing the perfect shot. The rooftop is his sanctuary, a place where the city's noise feels distant, almost soothing. He's alone save for the hum of air, conditioning units, and the occasional flutter of pigeons. His camera captures the skyline's glow, the stars barely visible above the city's light pollution. As he focuses the lens, a movement catches his eye. A figure on a neighboring rooftop, standing motionless, near the edge. It's too dark to make out details, but the figure is tall, its silhouette sharp against the city lights, its limbs unnaturally long, like a shadow stretched too far. Alex lowers his camera, squinting, assuming it's another night owl, maybe a maintenance worker. But something about the figure feels off. Too still, too wrong. He raises his camera again, zooming in, but the figure doesn't move. Its head is tilted upward, as if staring at the sky, and Alex feels a prickle on his skin, like static before a storm. He snaps a photo, the flash cutting through the dark, and the figure turns, its face blank, except for two glowing points, eyes bright and unblinking, like twin stars. Alex's breath catches. The figure's gaze locks onto him, and he feels it, not just seen, but felt, a weight pressing against his thoughts. The city's hum fades, replaced by a low buzz, faint but persistent, like a radio tuned to a dead frequency. Alex lowers the camera, his hands unsteady, and the figure is still there, unmoving, its eyes fixed on him. He tries to call out, to ask who they are, but his voice feels trapped, his throat tight. The buzz grows louder, vibrating in his chest, and he notices his phone, screen flickering, the time frozen at 11:17 p.m. He steps back, his sneakers scuffing the rooftop gravel, and the figure raises a hand, its fingers too long, too thin, moving in a slow, deliberate arc. A light flashes, not from his camera, but from above, a sharp white pulse that blinds him for a moment, washing the rooftop in stark clarity. Darkness follows, soft and heavy, like sinking into a dreamless void. When Alex opens his eyes, he's sitting on the rooftop, his camera beside him, its memory card empty. The city hums again, sirens wailing in the distance, but the air feels different, charged, as if something lingered. His phone reads 1:43 a.m., over 2 hours gone with no memory to fill them. The figure is gone, the neighboring rooftop empty, the skyline unchanged. Alex's hands tremble as he checks his camera, finding no photos, no trace of the figure or the flash. His skin feels cold despite the warm night, and he notices a faint mark on his palm, a spiral etched like a tattoo, painless but glowing faintly under the city lights. He packs his gear, his movements hurried, and heads back to his apartment, locking the door behind him. The buzz lingers in his ears, a faint echo of the rooftop, and he checks his windows, drawing the blinds. Sleep doesn't come easily that night. Alex lies, awake, the city's hum outside his window. But all he hears is the buzz, low and persistent, like a signal he can't tune out. He checks. His palm, the spiral mark still there. A quiet reminder of the figure, its glowing eyes. The flash that stole time. He tries to tell himself it was a trick of the light, a moment of exhaustion. But the mark says otherwise, a secret carved into his skin. Days pass, and Alex avoids the rooftop, sticking to street-level shots, his camera heavy in his hands. The city feels different now, too. Loud, too alive, as if hiding something in its rhythm. He starts noticing taps on his windows at night, soft and rhythmic, always. Around 3 a.m. he checks, but finds nothing. No birds, no branches, just the empty street below. His photos develop with strange artifacts, blurred shapes in the corners, humanoid but wrong, their eyes glowing like the figures. Alex deletes them, afraid to look. Too long. But the tapping continues, following him even when he stays with friends, a sound that's more presence than noise. He starts keeping a notebook, writing what he remembers, the figure, the flash, the buzz, hoping it will make sense. The pages fill with questions. What was it? Why him? Was it still watching from some rooftop, some sky? He avoids the news, afraid of stories about strange lights, afraid they confirm what he already knows. His neighbors notice his quietness, the way he avoids the rooftop. But they don't ask. Alex moves to a new apartment, one without rooftop access, telling himself it's for a fresh start. But the tapping follows, faint and persistent, like a call he can't answer. Sleep becomes a challenge. Alex wakes at odd hours, certain he hears the buzz, sees the glowing eyes in the dark. He draws his curtains, avoids the skyline, but the city feels alive, its lights too sharp, too knowing. He visits a friend, a fellow photographer, and mentions the rooftop, the figure, but stops short of the mark on his palm, afraid it sounds too strange. The friend suggests stress, a trick of the city's glow, but Alex knows better. The spiral mark never fades, glowing faintly under certain lights, a reminder of the night, the figure, the lost time. Years later, Alex hears a story from another photographer, a tale of a figure on a rooftop, eyes that glowed like stars. His heart races, but he says nothing, nodding as if it's just a story. He carries the night with him, a weight he can't set down. The notebook stays, hidden, its pages worn from rereading, a record of a moment he can't explain. He lives his life, but the city is always there, in his dreams, its skyline watching, waiting. The tapping comes less often now, but when it does, it's at 3 a.m., a rhythm that pulls him back to the rooftop, to the eyes that saw him, that knew him, in the endless glow of the city night. It's a warm night in 1985, on a lonely highway stretching through the desert of Arizona, where the stars burn bright against a velvet sky. David and Maria, a couple in their early 30s, are driving home from a weekend trip, their old pickup truck rattling along the empty 100 road. The air smells of dust and sagebrush, and the windows are down, letting in a faint breeze. Maria dozes in the passenger seat, her head resting against the window, while David keeps his eyes on the road. The radio playing soft rock, its signal fading in and out. The dashboard clock reads 1:15 a.m., and the highway is deserted, the only light from their headlights slicing through the dark. David hums along to the radio, his hands steady on the wheel, the rhythm of the drive lulling him into a quiet calm. The stars seem brighter tonight, almost too bright, their light sharp and unyielding. Maria stirs, murmuring something about the time, and David glances at the clock, still 1:15 a.m., the second hand frozen. He taps the dashboard thinking it's a glitch, but the radio cuts out, replaced by a low hum, not static but something deeper, like the pulse of a distant machine. The hum grows louder, vibrating through the truck, and David feels it in his chest, a rhythm that seems to sync with his heartbeat. He slows the truck, his eyes scanning the horizon, and notices a light in the rearview mirror. Not headlights, but a single, steady glow, white and cold, tailing them at a distance. Maria sits up, rubbing her eyes, and sees it too, her voice quiet as she asks what it is. David shrugs, trying to stay calm, but the light keeps pace, moving closer, silent and unyielding. He presses the gas, the truck's engine roaring, but the glow matches their speed, effortless, like it's gliding. The hum intensifies, and the headlights flicker, dimming, as the dashboard lights stutter. David's hands tighten on the wheel, his pulse racing, and Maria grips his arm, her breath shallow. The truck stalls suddenly, the engine dying, and the vehicle coasts to a stop on the shoulder, gravel crunching under the tires. The hum is everywhere now, vibrating through the air, the ground, their bodies. David tries the ignition, but it's dead. The keys useless. The glow is closer, hovering above the road, and they see it. A craft, not a plane or helicopter, but something sleek and oval. Its surface, a dull silver that absorbs the starlight. It floats silently, its edges blurred, as if it doesn't fully belong to this world. The white light pulses from its underside, bathing the truck in a cold, unnatural glow. David and Maria sit frozen, their eyes locked on the craft. Figures emerge from the light, tall and thin, their heads elongated, their movements slow and deliberate, like shadows given form. Their eyes are large, black and gleaming, reflecting the stars in a way that feels wrong. David tries to speak, to tell Maria to stay calm, but his voice catches, trapped in his throat. The figures don't approach, but their presence is heavy, a weight pressing against their thoughts. Maria gasps, and David feels it too, a pressure in his mind, not words, but a sensation, like fingers sifting through their memories. Images flash. Maria's garden, David's old baseball glove, their first date, vivid and unbidden, pulled to the surface. The hum shifts, becoming a rhythm, almost soothing, and the couple feels time slow, the world narrowing to the light, the figures, the pressure in their minds. The craft pulses, its glow flaring, and David feels his body grow heavy as if he's sinking into the seat. Maria's hand slips from his, her eyes wide but distant, like she's caught in a dream. The figures gesture, their hands moving in, patterns too complex to follow, and the hum crescendos, a sound that's more feeling than noise. David sees stars, endless and unfamiliar, planets with swirling storms, skies that shimmer with colors he can't name. The images flood his thoughts, alien and overwhelming, and he clings to Maria's face in his mind, a lifeline in the chaos. Darkness falls, soft and complete, like sinking into a quiet void. When David opens his eyes, he's in the driver's seat, the truck idling, on a different stretch of highway, miles from where they stopped. Maria is beside him, her head against the window, her breath uneven. The clock reads 4:22 a.m., over 3 hours gone with no memory to fill them. The radio is silent, the headlights steady, but David's hands tremble as he checks the rearview mirror. The sky is empty, the stars just stars, but the air feels different, charged with something he can't name. Maria stirs, her eyes meeting his, and they notice their clothes. David's shirt is backward, Maria's jacket inside out, though neither remembers changing. They drive in silence, the highway stretching before them, the desert vast and quiet. When they reach a gas station at dawn, they check the truck, expecting some sign, a mark, a malfunction, but find nothing. David notices a faint pattern on his wrist, a grid of tiny lines like a circuit board, painless, but glowing faintly under the station's lights. Maria finds a similar mark on her ankle, smooth and strange, a reminder of the night. They don't speak of it, not yet. The weight of the lost hours too heavy. The station attendant glances at them, but they avoid his eyes, filling the tank and driving on, the hum still echoing in their ears. Sleep is elusive when they get home. David lies awake, the hum lingering like a song he can't forget. Maria restless beside him. They check the windows, lock the doors, but the feeling of being watched doesn't fade. The marks on their skin don't vanish, glowing faintly under certain lights, a quiet proof of the craft, the figures, the lost time. They try to resume their routine, work, errands, life, but the highway haunts them. Maria starts sketching the figures in a notebook, her hands shaking as she draws their eyes, too large, too black. David hides the sketches, afraid to look at them, afraid of what they mean. Weeks pass, and they avoid that highway, taking back roads instead. But the stars feel too bright, too alive. David hears the hum at night, faint and distant, waking him at odd hours. Maria dreams of the craft, its silver surface, the figures watching, and wakes with her heart racing, certain something is outside. They don't tell friends, not wanting the pity or disbelief, but the marks remain, a secret they share in silence. David starts a journal, writing the light, the figures, the hum, hoping it will anchor him. The pages filled with questions. What did they want? Why them? Were they still out there? In the desert? In the sky? Years later, David hears a trucker's story of lights on that highway, a tale that mirrors their own. His heart skips, but he stays silent, nodding as if it's just a story. They carry the night with them, a weight they can't set down. Maria's sketches stay hidden, but she looks at the stars sometimes, her eyes distant, and David wonders what she sees. The marks on their skin never fade, a silent reminder of the craft, the figures, the hum. They live their lives, but the highway is always there, in their dreams, its light pulsing, calling them back to the desert, to the eyes that saw them in the endless night. It's a warm summer night in 1980, in a small farming community in Nebraska, where fields of wheat and corn stretch under a sky, bursting with stars. Clara, a teenager of 16, has snuck out of her family's farmhouse, a blanket tucked under her arm, to stargaze in a meadow a short walk from home. The air smells of hay and earth, and the crickets chirp a steady rhythm, blending with the rustle of grass in the gentle breeze. Clara loves these nights, the quiet of the meadow, the way the stars feel close enough to touch. She spreads her blanket near a lone oak tree, lies back, and lets the sky fill her vision, its vastness a comfort after a long day. Her watch reads 12:53 a.m., and the meadow is hers alone, the town asleep, its lights dim in the distance. Clara traces constellations with her finger, naming them softly: Orion, Cassiopeia, the Big Dipper, her voice a whisper in the dark. The stars are brighter tonight, almost pulsing, their light sharp against the black sky. She feels a peace here, away from chores and school. The meadow, a secret place where she can dream. Her flashlight rests beside her, unneeded in the starlight, and her small radio, tuned to a late-night station, plays faint classical music, its signal weak but soothing. The music cuts out, replaced by a low hum, not static but something smoother, like the drone of a distant engine. Clara sits up, frowning, and taps the radio, but the hum persists, growing louder, vibrating through the blanket into her hands. She glances at her watch, but it's stopped. Frozen at 1:01 a.m., the crickets fall silent, the breeze still, and the air grows heavy, charged with faint electricity that prickles her skin. Clara scans the meadow, her heart quickening, and sees a glow at the far edge, near a line of trees, a violet light pulsing softly, not like fire or a flashlight, but something liquid, alive. She stands, clutching the blanket, drawn to the glow despite the unease in her chest. The hum is everywhere now, resonating in her bones, and the violet light moves, gliding above the grass, as if beckoning her. Clara steps forward, her sneakers sinking into the soft earth. The meadow, too quiet, too still. The glow stops, hovering in a clearing, and she sees them. Shapes beneath it, low and dome-like. 3 of them, their surfaces smooth and dark, floating just above the ground. They're silent, their edges blurred, as if they don't fully belong to the world. Clara freezes, her breath shallow, as figures emerge from the glow, small, no taller than her, their bodies gray and thin, their heads too large, their eyes black and reflective, like mirrors catching the stars. They don't walk, but float, their movements fluid and wrong, as if the earth has no hold on them. Clara feels their gaze, not just on her, but inside her, a pressure brushing against her thoughts. Images flash, her mother's kitchen, the schoolyard swing, the smell of rain on the fields, vivid and unbidden, pulled to the surface, like pages torn from a book. She tries to back away, but her legs feel heavy, rooted, as if the meadow itself is holding her. The figures gesture, their hands moving in slow, intricate patterns, and the violet light pulses faster, bathing the clearing in a surreal glow. Clara feels a hum in her mind, not words, but a sensation, a question she can't answer, probing her memories, her fears. The domes pulse in time with the light, and Clara sees images, planets with crimson skies, oceans that shimmer with light, stars in patterns she doesn't recognize. The visions are overwhelming, alien, and she clings to the memory of her blanket, the oak tree, a lifeline in the flood. The figures watch, their eyes unblinking, and Clara feels exposed, her life laid bare before them. The hum shifts, becoming a rhythm, almost soothing, like a lullaby with a hidden edge. Time slows, the meadow fading, the world narrowing to the glow, the figures, the pressure in her mind. Clara feels a pull, not physical but mental, as if she's being drawn into the domes, into a space too vast to comprehend. The light flares, bright enough to make her squint, and the hum crescendos, a burr sound that's more feeling than noise. Her thoughts blur, her sense of self slipping, like she's dissolving into the violet glow. The figures raise their hands, their eyes endless, and Clara feels time stretch, the seconds meaningless. Darkness falls, soft and complete, like sinking into a quiet dream. When Clara opens her eyes, she's back on her blanket, lying under the oak tree, the meadow silent around her. The stars are bright again, the crickets chirping, the breeze cool against her skin. Her watch reads 3:15 a.m., over 2 hours gone with no memory to fill them. The radio is silent, its dial dark, and her flashlight is off, though she doesn't remember touching it. Clara's hands tremble as she sits up, her heart racing, and she notices a faint mark on her forearm, a spiral, smooth and glowing faintly, like a scar that doesn't hurt. She gathers her blanket and hurries home, the meadow stretching behind her, the stars too bright, too alive. The farmhouse is quiet. When she slips inside, her parents asleep, unaware of her absence. Clara checks her reflection in the bathroom mirror. The spiral, mark glowing under the light, a quiet reminder of the glow, the figures, the lost time. She doesn't sleep that night, sitting by her window, watching the meadow, expecting the violet light to return. It doesn't, but the hum lingers in her ears, faint and persistent, like a call she can't answer. Days pass, and Clara avoids the meadow, sticking to the farmhouse, helping with chores. The town feels different, too small, too ordinary, as if hiding something beneath its surface. She finds scorched spirals in the meadow grass, hidden under the wheat, perfect and precise, like the mark on her arm. She covers them, afraid to show her parents, afraid of their questions. Her dreams are filled with the figures, their eyes watching, the domes floating above the earth. She wakes at odd hours, certain she hears the hum, low and distant, calling from the meadow. Clara starts a notebook, writing what she remembers, the glow, the figures, the visions, hoping it will make sense. The pages fill with questions. What did they want? Why her? Were they still out there, in the meadow, in the stars? She avoids telling her friends, afraid of their laughter, their disbelief. The mark on her arm doesn't fade, glowing faintly under certain lights, a secret she hides with long sleeves. The town whispers of lights that summer, stories of strange glows in the fields. Clara stays silent, her heart racing. At the mention. Years later, Clara hears a farmer's tale of lights in that meadow, a story that mirrors her own. She listens, her pulse quickening, but says nothing, nodding as if it's just a tale. She carries the night with her, a weight she can't set down. The notebook stays hidden, its pages worn from rereading. A record of a night she can't explain. Clara moves away for college, leaving the meadow behind, but the dreams follow, the violet glow pulsing at the edge of her sleep, the figures standing just out of sight. She lives her life, but the meadow is always there, in her dreams, its stars watching, calling her back to the light, to the eyes that saw her in the endless night. It's a warm summer night in 1982, somewhere along a quiet back road in Tennessee. The kind of road that twists through endless fields where the only light comes from the stars scattered across the sky like spilled sugar. Ellen, a schoolteacher in her mid-30s, is driving home after a long evening of parent-teacher conferences. Her old sedan hums along, its engine a steady companion in the stillness. The windows are cracked open, letting in the faint scent of wildflowers and earth. Her radio flickers, unable to hold a station this far out, spitting bursts of static between fragments of country songs. Ellen doesn't mind. She's used to the solitude of these drives, the way the night wraps around her like a blanket. But tonight, something feels different. The air is too heavy, the stars too sharp, as if they're pressing closer than they should. Ellen adjusts her rearview mirror, catching a glimpse of her own tired eyes. It's nearing midnight, and she's eager to get home, to slip into bed and let the day fade away. She glances at the dashboard clock. 11:47 p.m. The second hand ticks steadily, a small comfort in the vastness of the night. Then, without warning, the headlights flicker. They dim, sputter, and go out completely, plunging the road into darkness. Ellen's breath catches. She taps the dashboard, willing the lights to return, but they don't. The radio cuts out mid-song, replaced by a low, throbbing hum. Not static, but something deeper, like the pulse of a distant machine. It's not coming from the radio alone. It seems to vibrate through the car, through her bones. She slows to a crawl, her hands tight on the wheel, and checks the dashboard again. The clock is frozen at 11:47. It's second-hand still. Ellen pulls over, the tires crunching softly on the gravel shoulder. She sits for a moment, listening to the hum grow louder, more insistent. It's not just sound, it's a feeling, like the air is thickening around her, pressing against her skin. She turns off the engine, hoping to reset whatever's gone wrong, but the hum doesn't stop. It's everywhere now, in the car, in the fields, in the sky. Her heart beats faster, a counterpoint to the rhythm of the sound. She steps out, her boots scuffing the gravel, and closes the door behind her. The night is unnaturally quiet. No crickets, no breeze, just the hum, steady and unyielding. She looks around, her eyes adjusting to the dark. And then she sees it. Above the treetops, just beyond the field to her right, a shape hovers. It's a disc, smooth and silver, its surface catching no light, as if it's carved from the night itself. It's silent, motionless, yet it feels alive, like a predator watching its prey. Ellen stares, her breath shallow, unable to look away. Small lights drift from the disc, no bigger than fireflies, glowing a cold, pale blue. They move in a slow, deliberate pattern, floating down toward the field, toward her. Ellen's skin prickles, a shiver running through her despite the warm air. The lights circle the car, their glow pulsing in time with the hum, which is louder now, resonating in her chest. She wants to run, to get back in the car and drive, but her legs feel rooted to the ground. The lights are closer now, weaving around her, their movements almost curious, like they're studying her. A sensation creeps into her mind. Not a voice, not quite, but a presence. It's as if something is brushing against her thoughts, gentle but unyielding, like fingers flipping through pages of a book. Words form, not heard, but felt, clear as if spoken. You see us now. They're not a question, not a statement, but something else, something that carries weight, like a command or a truth. Ellen's heart races, but her body won't move. The lights pulse faster, their blue glow reflecting in her wide eyes, and she feels her thoughts blur as if they're being sifted through by something vast and unknowable. The air shifts, growing heavier, and Ellen feels a pull, like gravity tilting toward the disc. The lights tighten their circle, their glow so bright, it's almost blinding, yet it doesn't hurt her eyes. She sees shapes within the disc now, faint, elongated figures moving behind. Its surface, their outlines indistinct but wrong, too tall, too thin. They don't approach, but their presence is overwhelming, like standing at the edge of an abyss. The hum crescendos, a vibration that seems to rewrite the air, and Ellen feels her thoughts scatter, her sense of time slipping away. Then, nothing. Darkness folds over her, soft and complete, like sinking into a dreamless sleep. When she opens her eyes, she's back, in her car, slumped in the driver's seat. The engine is running, the headlights casting a steady beam down the road. The hum is gone, the night quiet again, filled with the familiar chirp of crickets. She glances at the dashboard clock. 1:22. Nearly an hour and a half has vanished, with no memory to fill it. Her hands tremble as she grips the wheel, her breath uneven. She checks the passenger seat and finds her keys there, though she's certain she left them in the ignition. Her shoes are damp, the soles caked with wet grass, though the road around her is dry gravel. Ellen drives home, the road stretching endlessly before her. The stars are still bright, but they feel different now, like eyes watching from above. When she reaches her small house, she locks the door behind her, something she rarely bothers to do. In the bathroom mirror, she notices a faint mark on her wrist. A perfect circle, no bigger than a quarter, like a burn that doesn't hurt. It's smooth, almost luminescent under the light, and it sends a shiver through her. She tries to wash it off, but it stays, a quiet reminder of the night. Sleep doesn't come easily after that. Ellen lies awake, the hum echoing faintly in her memory, like a song she can't forget. She avoids that back road in the months that follow, taking longer routes home, but the feeling of being watched never leaves her. Sometimes, late at night, she wakes with a start, certain she hears that hum again, low and distant, calling her back to the field. She checks her wrist, and the mark is still there, unchanged, a silent question she can't answer. Years later, Ellen shares her story with a friend, her voice soft, hesitant. She describes the disc, the lights, the presence that spoke, without words. The friend listens, skeptical but kind, and suggests it was a dream, a trick of exhaustion. Ellen nods, but she knows better. The mark on her wrist never fades, and her dreams are filled with those blue lights, circling, watching. She wonders what they meant by "you see us now." Were they warning her, claiming her, or simply acknowledging that for one fleeting moment she glimpsed something beyond the world she knows? Ellen still drives at night sometimes, when she has no choice. She keeps the radio off, the silence preferable to the chance of hearing that hum again. But the stars, they're always there, bright and unyielding, and she can't help but feel they're watching, waiting for her to see them again. The road stretches on, and Ellen drives, carrying the weight of that night, a secret she holds close, like a star she can't let go. It's a misty evening in October 1994, deep in the forests of Oregon, where the trees stand tall and the air carries the scent of pine and damp earth. Sarah, a park ranger in her late 20s, is patrolling a remote trail known as Blackthorn Path. Locals call it haunted, whispering about strange lights and shapes that flicker between the trees after dark. Sarah, practical and skeptical, has heard the stories, but chalks them up to campfire tales, the kind told to spook campers. Her flashlight cuts through the fog, its beam steady as she walks, her boots crunching softly on the pine needle carpet. The forest is quiet tonight, save for the occasional hoot of an owl and the rustle of leaves in the breeze. She's been a ranger for 3 years, comfortable with the solitude of these woods. Her radio hangs at her hip, crackling faintly with static, a lifeline to the ranger station miles away. The trail is familiar, one she's walked countless times, but tonight the air feels heavier, the fog thicker, curling around the trees like ghostly fingers. Sarah adjusts her cap, her breath visible in the cool air, and keeps moving. Her watch reads 8:17 p.m., and she plans to finish her patrol and head back to her truck before the fog gets worse. As she rounds a bend, a faint glow catches her eye, flickering through the trees ahead. It's not the warm yellow of a campfire, or the sharp white of a flashlight. It's green, soft, but unnatural, pulsing like a heartbeat. Sarah stops, her hand resting on her radio, and squints into the fog. The glow is steady, hovering just above the ground, about the size of a basketball. It doesn't flicker like fire or sway like a lantern. It's too still, too perfect. She takes a step closer, her curiosity outweighing her caution. The air hums now, a low vibration she feels in her teeth, like standing too close to a power line. Her radio crackles, then cuts out completely, leaving only silence. Sarah taps it, but it's dead, the static gone. The glow pulses faster, and she feels a prickle across her skin like static electricity. She should turn back, she knows, but the light pulls her forward, its rhythm almost hypnotic. The forest is silent now. No owls, no wind, just the hum and the glow, drawing her deeper into the trees. She steps off the trail, her boots sinking into the soft earth, following the light as it drifts ahead, always just out of reach. The glow stops in a small clearing, hovering above a patch of moss. Sarah stands at the edge, her flashlight forgotten in her hand. The light pulses, and she feels it in her chest, a rhythm that matches her heartbeat. She takes another step, and the glow moves, darting behind a tree, then reappearing closer, as if playing a game. Sarah's breath catches. She's not alone. In the shadows, just beyond the light, something stands, tall, impossibly thin, its outline blurred by the fog. It's not human, not an animal. Its limbs are too long, its head too large, and it moves with a stillness that feels wrong, like a drawing come to life. Sarah freezes, her pulse loud in her ears. The figure doesn't approach, but she feels its gaze, heavy and unblinking, like a weight, pressing down on her. The hum grows louder, vibrating through the ground, and the glow pulses faster, its green light casting eerie shadows across the trees. She wants to speak, to call out, but her voice catches in her throat. The figure tilts its head, a slow, deliberate motion, and Sarah feels a tug in her mind. Not words, but a sensation, like someone rifling through her memories. Images flash before her childhood home, the lake where she swam as a kid, the ranger station, unconnected yet vivid, as if being pulled to the surface. The air shifts, growing colder, and the glow begins to rise, floating higher toward the canopy. The figure steps back, blending into the shadows, but its presence lingers, a pressure in Sarah's thoughts. She feels time slip, the world slowing, her body heavy. The light pulses one last time, bright enough to make her squint, and then it's gone. The hum stops, the forest silent again. Sarah blinks, and she's standing in the clearing, alone, her flashlight dangling at her side. Her watch reads 9:02 p.m., but it feels like hours have passed. The fog is thinner now, the trees just trees, but her skin still tingles, and her head feels foggy, like waking from a dream she can't recall. She stumbles back to the trail, her legs unsteady, and makes her way to her truck. The radio is working again, crackling with the voice of another ranger asking for her status. She responds, her voice shaky, but doesn't mention the light, the figure, the lost time. When she reaches her truck, she checks her boots. They're scorched, marked with perfect circles, like something touched her in the dark. The marks are faint, almost invisible, but they're there, a silent proof of what she can't explain. Sarah drives back to the station, the forest fading behind her. The stars are visible now, peeking through the clearing fog, but they feel too close, too bright. She doesn't patrol Blackthorn Path again, requesting other routes instead. The other rangers notice her. Quietness, the way she avoids talking about that night, but they don't press. Sarah keeps the scorched boots in her closet, a reminder she can't bring herself to throw away. At night she dreams of the green glow, the figure in the shadows, and wakes with the hum still echoing in her ears. Months later, she hears a hiker mention lights in the forest, a story that mirrors her own. She listens, her heart racing, but says nothing. The locals still talk about Blackthorn Path, about the things that move in the fog, but Sarah doesn't join in. She carries the memory of that night like a weight, a secret she can't share. The forest is vast, she tells herself, full of things we don't understand. But sometimes, when she's alone, she feels that gaze again, distant but present, as if the figure is still out there, waiting for her to step back into the light. Sarah moves to a desk job the next year, leaving the trails behind. She tells herself it's for a change of pace, but deep down, she knows it's the forest she's escaping. The dreams don't stop, though. The green glow follows her, flickering at the edge of her sleep. And the hum is there, soft but persistent, like a call she can't answer. She checks her watch sometimes, half expecting it to freeze at 8:17, but it never does. The stars outside her window are just stars, she tells herself, but she draws the curtains anyway, unwilling to meet their gaze. It's a quiet night in 1983 in a small town in Ohio, where the streets are empty and the houses glow softly with porch lights. Clara, a nurse in her early 30s, is driving home after a late shift at the hospital. Her car, an old station wagon, hums along the deserted roads. The only sound, the faint crackle of her radio, tuned to 88.7 FM, a local station that plays smooth jazz late into the night. The music is a comfort, a familiar rhythm that keeps her company as she navigates the familiar route. The sky is clear, stars scattered like distant lanterns, and the air carries the crisp edge of autumn. Clara yawns, her eyes heavy, but she's alert enough to keep the wheel steady. The clock on her dashboard reads 12:58 a.m. as she passes the town's old water tower, its silhouette looming against the starry sky. The jazz on the radio fades, replaced by a sudden burst of static that makes Clara flinch. She reaches for the dial, twisting it to find the station, but the static persists, layered with a strange, rhythmic clicking, like Morse code but faster, more erratic. She frowns, assuming it's interference, maybe from a storm she hasn't noticed. But the sky is clear, no clouds, no lightning. The clicking shifts, forming a pattern, and then, impossibly, a voice breaks through. Not the warm tone of the station's DJ, but something cold, mechanical, precise. It speaks in short bursts. Observe, record, do not interfere. Clara's hands tighten on the wheel. She glances at the radio, its dial glowing faintly, and tries to turn it off. The knob clicks uselessly, the voice continuing, clear and unyielding. It repeats the phrase, then shifts, listing numbers, coordinates, she thinks, though she's no expert. Latitude, longitude, a string of digits that mean nothing to her. Then, her name, Clara Marie Ellis. Her heart stumbles. The voice says it again, followed by her address, her hospital's name, details no one could know from a radio broadcast. She slams on the brakes, the car jerking to a stop at a red light, though the intersection is empty. She looks up, her breath shallow, and sees them. Lights in the sky, pale and steady, arranged in a loose circle. They're not stars, not planes, but something else, hovering silently above the fields beyond the town. They move slowly, circling like birds riding a thermal. Their glow a sickly yellow that doesn't belong in the night. Clara's skin prickles. The air in the car suddenly heavy, as if it's pressing against her. The voice on the radio grows louder, repeating her name, her address, over and over, until it's a chant that fills her head. She yanks the radio's power cord, but the voice doesn't stop. It's in the car now, in her ears, in her thoughts. She grips the steering wheel, her knuckles white, and stares at the lights. They pulse in time with the voice, a rhythm that seems to sync with her heartbeat. She wants to drive, to get home, but her body feels sluggish, her thoughts cloudy. The lights grow brighter, closer, and she sees a shape within them. A formless mass, too large to be a craft, too solid to be a cloud. It hovers, silent, its edges blurred, like ink spreading in water. Clara feels a pull, not physical but mental, as if something is reaching into her mind. Sifting through her memories, she sees flashes, her childhood swing set, the hospital's fluorescent halls, her mother's face, unconnected yet vivid, pulled to the surface against her will. The voice shifts, no longer speaking words but emitting a low hum, a vibration that resonates in her chest. The lights tighten their circle, their glow now almost blinding, yet Clara can't look away. She feels time stretch, the seconds slowing, the world narrowing to the hum, the lights, the presence that feels both distant and impossibly close. Shadows move within the glow, shapes that aren't human, too tall, too angular, their movements jerky, like puppets on invisible strings. They don't approach, but Clara feels their gaze, heavy and unblinking, as if they're cataloging her, studying her like a specimen. Then, darkness. The hum stops, the lights vanish, and Clara blinks, finding herself still in her car, the engine idling. The dashboard clock reads 2:37 a.m., nearly 2 hours gone with no memory to fill them. The radio is silent, its dial dark, as if it was never on. Her hands tremble as she touches her face, her skin cold despite the warm night. She checks her rearview mirror, half expecting to see those lights, but the sky is empty, the stars just stars. She drives home, the road stretching endlessly before her, her thoughts a jumble of fear and confusion. When she reaches her small apartment, she locks the door and checks it twice, something she rarely does. In the living room, her TV is on, though she's certain she turned it off before her shift. The screen shows static, gray, and flickering, with faint shapes moving within it, blurred, humanoid, but wrong, their proportions off, their faces featureless. Clara unplugs the TV, her breath uneven, and the static stops, but the hum lingers in her ears, faint but persistent. She sits on her couch, staring at the blank screen, afraid to turn it back on. Sleep is hard to come by that night. Clara lies in bed, the hum echoing in her memory, a sound she can't shake. She checks her windows, draws the curtains, but the feeling of being watched doesn't fade. The next day, she calls in sick, unable to face the hospital. The thought of those coordinates, her name in that mechanical voice, too much to bear. She avoids the radio, unplugging it from her car, but the silence is worse, heavy with the absence of sound. At night she dreams of the lights, the shapes, the voice, and wakes with her heart racing, certain something is standing just outside her door. Weeks pass, and Clara tries to move on. She tells no one about that night, not her co-workers, not her friends. They notice she's quieter, more withdrawn, but they don't ask. She moves to a new apartment across town, hoping distance will help, but the hum follows her, faint and fleeting, like a whisper in the dark. Sometimes, late at night, she hears it again, her name spoken in that cold, mechanical tone, though the radio stays silent. She checks the TV, the windows, but finds nothing, yet the feeling of being observed never leaves. Clara starts keeping a journal, writing down what she remembers. The lights, the voice, the missing time. The act of writing is a comfort, a way to anchor herself, but the pages fill with questions she can't answer. What did they want? Why her name? Were they watching her still from somewhere beyond the stars? She avoids driving at night now, taking day shifts when she can. But the sky feels different, too vast, too alive. The stars, once a comfort, now seem to watch her, their light sharp and unyielding. Years later, Clara hears a news report about strange signals picked up by a local observatory, patterns that defy explanation. Her heart skips, but she doesn't call, doesn't share her story. She carries it quietly, a weight she can't set down. The journal stays hidden, in a drawer, its pages yellowing. But she reads it sometimes, tracing the words, the coordinates she wrote down in a daze. The hum is still there, in her dreams, in the quiet moments. A reminder that something saw her, knew her, and left its mark. Clara lives her life, but the night never leaves her, a secret whispered in the static, waiting for her to listen again. It's a quiet summer night in 1967, in the rolling fields of Iowa, where the corn grows tall and the stars stretch endlessly above. Henry, a farmer in his late 50s, lives alone on his family's land, a sprawling plot bordered by a creek and a line of oak trees. His farmhouse is modest, its porch creaking under the weight of years, and his days are filled with the rhythm of planting and harvesting. Tonight, he's asleep, the windows open to let in the cool air, the only sounds the chirping of crickets and the occasional low of a cow in the distance. The clock on his nightstand ticks past midnight, steady and unremarkable. Henry wakes with a start, though he's not sure why. The crickets have stopped, the air unnaturally still, as if the world is holding its breath. He sits up, rubbing his eyes, and listens. There's no wind, no rustle of leaves, just a silence so deep it feels heavy. His dog, Rusty, a loyal mutt who sleeps at the foot of the bed, is awake too, ears perked, staring at the window. Henry notices the hair on his arms standing up like static before a storm, but the sky outside is clear, the stars sharp and bright. He swings his legs over the side of the bed, his bare feet touching the cool wood floor, and reaches for his boots. He steps onto the porch, Rusty at his side, and scans the fields. The corn sways gently, though there's no breeze to move it. In the distance, near the center of his largest field, a faint light glows, not the warm yellow of a lantern, but a cold, pale blue, pulsing softly, like a heartbeat. Henry's chest tightens. He grabs his rifle from the corner of the porch, more out of habit than intent, and calls for Rusty to follow. The dog whines, refusing to move, its tail tucked. Henry hesitates, then steps off the porch alone, the grass damp under his boots. The light grows brighter as he approaches, cutting through the corn like a beacon. The air hums now, a low vibration that seems to come from the ground itself, resonating in his bones. He pushes through the stalks, their leaves brushing against his arms, and steps into a clearing he doesn't recognize. The corn here is flattened, pressed into a perfect circle, the stalks bent outward as if something heavy landed from above. In the center, the blue light hovers, no bigger than a dinner plate, floating a few feet off the ground. It pulses, and Henry feels it in his chest, a rhythm that matches his pulse. He takes a step closer, the rifle heavy in his hands, and notices something on the ground. A metal shard, no larger than a pocket knife, glinting faintly in the light. It's warm to the touch, its surface etched with symbols he can't read, lines and curves that seem to shift when he looks at them. He slips it into his pocket, his fingers trembling, and looks up at the light. It moves, drifting, slowly toward the edge of the circle, as if inviting him to follow. Henry's breath catches. He should go back, he knows, but the light pulls him, its glow soothing, yet unsettling, like a lullaby with a hidden edge. The hum grows louder, and the air feels thick, like moving through water. Henry steps forward, following the light, and notices the stars above seem to flicker, their pattern wrong, as if they've shifted out of place. Then he sees it, a shape at the edge of the clearing, tall and cloaked in shadow, its outline blurred, but wrong, too angular, too still. It doesn't move, but Henry feels its presence, a weight that presses against his thoughts. The figure raises a hand, its fingers too long, and the hum spikes, a sound. That's more feeling than noise. Henry's rifle slips from his hands, falling silently to the grass. A voice, not heard, but felt, echoes in his mind. You are seen. It's not a threat, not a promise, but a statement, cold and absolute. Henry's thoughts blur, memories flashing unbidden. His father's tractor, the smell of rain on the fields, his wife's laugh before she passed. The images come fast, pulled from him like pages torn from a book. The light pulses faster, its blue glow filling the clearing. And Henry feels his body grow heavy, his legs rooted to the earth. The figure steps closer, its movements jerky, like a marionette. And Henry's vision swims, the world tilting into a haze. Darkness falls, soft and complete, like sinking into a deep pond. When Henry opens his eyes, he's on his porch, sitting in his rocking chair, the rifle across his lap. The night is quiet again, the crickets chirping, the stars back in their proper places. His watch reads 3:14 a.m., hours gone with no memory to fill them. He pats his pocket, but the metal shard is gone, leaving only a faint warmth where it touched his skin. Rusty is inside, curled up by the door, whining softly. Henry stands, his legs unsteady, and looks out at the field. The corn stands tall, no sign of the flattened circle, no trace of the light. He doesn't sleep that night. He sits on the porch, watching the field, waiting for the light to return. It doesn't, but the feeling of being watched lingers, a prickle at the back of his neck. The next morning, he walks to the field, searching for the clearing, but the corn is untouched, the ground firm. He tells himself it was a dream, a trick of exhaustion, but his pocket feels empty, and his hands shake when he thinks of the shard, the symbols, the figure in the shadows. Days pass, and Henry goes back to his routine, tending the fields, feeding the cows. But the farm feels different now, too quiet, too fast. Rusty avoids the field, staying close to the house, his ears perked at night. Henry starts finding marks on his barn, faint scratches, lines and curves, like the ones on the shard, appearing overnight, etched into the wood. He paints over them, but they return, deeper each time, as if something is marking its claim. He stops telling his neighbors about strange lights, tired of their skeptical looks, but he knows what he saw, what he felt. At night, Henry dreams of the figure, its long fingers raised, its voice echoing, "You are seen." He wakes sweating, the hum still in his ears, faint but persistent. He keeps his rifle close, though he knows it's useless. The stars outside his window feel alive, watching, waiting. He stops sitting on the porch at night, drawing the curtains instead. But the feeling of eyes on him never fades. He thinks of the shard, wonders where it went, if it was taken back, if it was ever real. Years later, Henry sells the farm, moves to a small apartment in town. He tells himself it's because of his age, the work too much for, his aging body. But deep down, it's the field he's leaving behind. The dreams follow him, though, the blue light flickering at the edge of his sleep, the figure standing just out of sight. He keeps a journal now, writing what he remembers, the hum, the shard, the voice, hoping it will anchor him. The pages fill with questions. What did they want? Why him? Were they still out there in the fields, under the stars? Henry avoids looking at the sky now, keeps his eyes on the ground. But sometimes, in the quiet of his apartment, he hears the hum, again low and distant, like a call from the fields he left behind. The stars are still there, beyond his window, and he wonders if they see him, if they've always seen him, waiting for him to step back into the light. It's a foggy night in 2001, off the rugged coast of Maine, where the Atlantic stretches dark and endless under a starless sky. Ellen, a seasoned fishing boat captain in her 40s, is out with her small crew. 3 men she's known for years, reliable hands who know the sea like their own skin. Their boat, the Starling, cuts through the waves, its engine a steady rumble as they head back to port after a long day hauling lobster traps. The fog is thick, curling around the boat like a living thing, and the air smells of salt and damp wood. Ellen stands at the helm, her hands steady on the wheel, the glow of the dashboard casting soft light on her weathered face. The crew is quiet, tired from the day's work. The only sounds the slap of waves against the hull and the faint clang of a buoy bell in the distance. Ellen checks the clock. 11:23 p.m. They're behind schedule, the fog slowing their progress, but she knows these waters, trusts her compass and sonar to guide them home. The radio crackles faintly, tuned to a weather channel, but the signal is weak, fading in and out. Ellen adjusts the dial, but the static persists, layered with a low hum, almost imperceptible, like the drone of a distant engine. She frowns, assuming it's interference from the fog, and turns her attention back to the sea. Then, one of the crew, Tom, calls out from the deck. He's pointing starboard, his voice hushed but urgent. Ellen steps out, the cold air biting her skin, and follows his gaze. Beneath the water, a glow pulses, bright enough to light the waves. A deep emerald green that cuts through the fog. It's not bioluminescence, not the faint shimmer of plankton she's seen before. This is steady, deliberate, moving with the boat, matching their speed. Ellen leans over the rail, squinting into the depths. The glow is large, too large, spreading out like a spotlight from something below. The sonar pings wildly, its screen showing a shape, massive, elongated, not a whale or a school of fish, but something solid, structured. The crew gathers, their faces pale in the green light, whispering about submarines, though Ellen knows no sub would move like this, silent and fluid. The hum from the radio grows louder, vibrating through the deck, and Ellen feels it in her chest, a rhythm that seems to sync with her breathing. She tries the radio, switching channels, but the hum follows, drowning out everything else. The compass needle spins, useless, and the dashboard flickers, the lights dimming. Ellen cuts the engine, the boat drifting in the fog. The glow rises, breaking the surface, and the crew gasps. It's not a creature, not a ship, but a craft, sleek, seamless, its surface a dull silver that reflects no light. It hovers just above the water, silent, its edges blurred as if it doesn't fully belong to this world. The green glow pulses from its underside, casting eerie shadows across the Starling's deck. Ellen stares, her heart pounding, and sees shapes within the craft. Figures, not human, pressed against the surface. Their outlines indistinct but watching, their eyes large and dark, like pools of ink. The hum intensifies, and Ellen feels a pressure in her mind, not a voice, but a presence, heavy and probing. It's as if something is sifting through her thoughts, pulling up memories. Her first time at sea, her father's laugh, the smell of her mother's cooking. The images are vivid, unbidden, and she grips the rail to steady herself. The crew stands frozen, their eyes fixed on the craft, their faces blank, as if caught in a dream. Ellen tries to speak, to call out, but her voice feels trapped, her words swallowed by the hum. The figures in the craft move, their motions slow and fluid, like shadows underwater. And Ellen feels their gaze, ancient and unyielding, as if they've seen the world for centuries. Time slows, the fog thickening, the world narrowing to the glow. The hum, the watching figures. The craft pulses, its light flaring. And Ellen feels her thoughts blur, her body heavy, as if she's sinking into the sea. The crew doesn't move, their expressions distant. And Ellen wonders if they feel it too, the pull of something vast and unknowable. The hum shifts, becoming a low chant, not words, but a feeling, a question she can't answer. The craft hovers closer, its surface rippling, and Ellen's skin tingles, her breath shallow. She wants to run, to start the engine, but her body won't obey, her mind caught in the glow. Then, darkness. The hum stops, the light vanishes, and Ellen blinks, finding herself back at the helm. The engine is running, the boat moving steadily through the fog. The clock reads 2:47 a.m., over 3 hours gone with no memory to fill them. The crew is at their posts, silent, their faces pale but calm, as if nothing happened. Ellen checks the sonar, it's blank, no trace of the shape. The compass is steady, the radio silent, playing only soft static. She looks at her crew, but they avoid her eyes, their hands busy with ropes, their movements mechanical. They reach port at dawn, the fog lifting to reveal a gray sky. Ellen checks the boat, expecting some sign of the night, a mark, a malfunction, but finds nothing. The crew says little, their usual banter gone, and Ellen doesn't press. She notices her hands, trembling as she ties the Starling to the dock, and when she checks her jacket, she finds a faint burn mark on the sleeve. A perfect circle, like something touched her in the dark. It's smooth, painless, but it sends a shiver through her. Sleep is elusive that night. Ellen lies in her small apartment, the sound of waves outside her window, but all she hears is the hum, faint and persistent, echoing in her memory. She avoids the mirror, afraid to see the mark on her sleeve, afraid it might have spread. The crew doesn't talk about that night, not to her, not to each other. They take other boats, other captains, and Ellen wonders if they dream of the glow, the figures, the lost time. She keeps the Starling docked for days, telling herself it's for repairs, but deep down it's the sea she's avoiding. Weeks later, a fisherman mentions strange lights off the coast, a story that mirrors her own. Ellen listens, her heart racing, but says nothing. She starts keeping a log, writing what she remembers, the craft, the figures, the hum, hoping it will make sense of the night. The pages fill with questions. What did they want? Why the starling? Were they still out there, under the waves? She avoids, night runs now, sticking to daylight, but the sea feels different, too vast, too alive. The stars, when she dares to look, seem to watch her, their light sharp and unyielding. Ellen keeps the burned jacket folded in a drawer, a reminder she can't bring herself to discard. She dreams of the craft, the figures, their eyes like endless depths, and wakes with the hum in her ears. A call she can't answer. She tells herself it was a trick of the fog, a shared hallucination, but the mark on her sleeve says otherwise. The ocean stretches beyond her window, and Ellen wonders if the glow is still there, waiting for her to sail back into the dark. It's a crisp autumn afternoon in 1999, high in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, where the air is thin and the peaks cut sharp against a fading blue sky. Mark, a hiker in his early 30s, is on a solo trek along a remote trail in the San Juan Range. He's no stranger to these mountains, having climbed them since he was a kid, his backpack light with just enough gear for a weekend. The trail winds through pine forests, their needles carpeting the ground, and the wind carries a faint chill, whispering through the trees. Mark's boots crunch, rhythmically, his breath steady as he climbs. The solitude a welcome escape from the noise of city life. The sun is dipping low, casting long shadows across the rocky slopes, and Mark checks his watch. 4:22 p.m. He plans to reach a small clearing by dusk to set up camp, a spot he's used before, nestled between boulders with a view of the valley below. His compass swings gently at his hip, and his walkie-talkie crackles faintly, though he's too far out for a signal. The trail is quiet, save for the rustle of leaves and the occasional clatter of loose rocks tumbling down the slope. Mark feels at ease. The mountains a familiar friend, their vastness a comfort. As he rounds a ridge, a light catches his eye, bright and sudden, like a flare in the distance. It's not the warm glow of sunset, but a stark white, pulsing steadily from a gully below. Mark stops, squinting against the glare. It's too bright for a campfire, too steady for a flashlight. He assumes it's another hiker, maybe a signal, though the trail is remote, rarely traveled this late in the season. He adjusts his pack and heads toward the light, curiosity pulling him off the path. The wind picks up, carrying a faint hum, low and resonant, like the buzz of a distant generator. The hum grows louder as he descends, the air growing heavier, almost electric. Mark's skin prickles, and his compass needle spins, wildly, no longer pointing north. He taps it, but it doesn't settle. The light is closer now, hovering just above the ground in a small clearing. A perfect sphere no bigger than a soccer ball, glowing with an intensity that doesn't belong in the mountains. Mark slows, his heart beating faster, and scans the clearing. The pines are still, the wind silent, and the hum fills the space, vibrating in his chest, like a second pulse. He steps into the clearing, his boots sinking into the soft earth, and the light shifts, rising slightly, as if aware of him. Mark freezes, his breath shallow. The hum changes, becoming a rhythm, almost musical, and he feels a pressure in his mind. Not a voice, but a presence, like fingers brushing against his thoughts. Images flash before him, his childhood dog, the view from his apartment. Window, the smell of his mother's coffee. Unconnected, yet vivid. pulled to the surface without his control. He grips his pack straps, trying to anchor himself, but the light pulses faster, its glow washing over him like a tide. Then he sees it, a shape in the sky, just beyond the clearing, massive and silent, like a shadow given form. It's not a helicopter, not a plane, but something else. Its edges smooth and curved, absorbing the fading daylight. It hovers, motionless, and Mark feels its weight, not physical but mental, as if it's pressing down on him. Figures appear in the clearing, small and gray, their bodies slight, their heads too large, their eyes black and endless, like pools night. They don't walk, but glide, their movements smooth and wrong, as if they don't touch the ground. Mark's legs feel heavy, his body rooted, though he wants to run. The figures don't speak, but he feels their questions, not in words, but in sensations, curiosity, analysis, something cold and vast. The light pulses in time with the hum, and Mark feels himself lift, not physically but in his mind, as if he's floating above the clearing, above the mountains, into a space too large to comprehend. He sees stars, planets, swirling colors he can't name, images that flood his thoughts, overwhelming and alien. The figures watch, their eyes unblinking, and Mark feels exposed, as if his entire life is laid bare before them. The hum crescendos, a sound that's more feeling than noise, and Mark's vision blurs, the world tilting into a haze. Darkness folds over him, soft and heavy, like sinking into a dreamless sleep. When he opens his eyes, he's sitting on a boulder in the clearing, his pack beside him. The light is gone, the hum silent, the mountains quiet under a star-filled sky. His watch reads 4:34 a.m. 12 hours lost with no memory to fill them. His compass is broken, its needle still, and his walkie-talkie emits only static. Mark's hands tremble as he checks his gear, finding his boots clean, though he remembers the muddy earth of the clearing. He hikes back to the trail, his legs unsteady, the stars above too bright, too close. The clearing is empty when he glances back. No sign of flattened grass or strange marks. But the air feels different, charged with something he can't name. He reaches his truck by dawn, the mountains looming behind him, and drives home in silence, the walkie-talkie off, the hum still echoing in his memory. When he unpacks, he finds a faint mark on his wrist, a thin crescent-shaped line, like a scar that doesn't hurt. It's smooth, almost, glowing under the light, and it sends a shiver through him. Mark doesn't hike again, trading his boots for city walks, telling himself it's a phase, a need for change. But the mountains call to him, in his dreams, the light pulsing at the edge of his sleep, the figures standing just out of sight. He starts a journal, writing what he remembers, the sphere, the figures, the stars, hoping to make sense of it. The pages fill with questions. What did they want? Why him? Were they still watching from somewhere beyond the peaks? He avoids the news, afraid of hearing about lights in the mountains, afraid it would confirm what he already knows. Sleep becomes a challenge. Mark wakes at odd hours, certain he hears the hum, low and distant, like a call from the clearing. He draws his curtains, avoids the night sky, but the stars feel alive, their light sharp and knowing. He visits a therapist, tries hypnosis to recover the lost hours, and under trance, he speaks of the figures, their eyes, the endless space they showed him. The memories are fragmented, like pieces of a puzzle he can't fit together, but they feel real, too real to dismiss as a dream. Years later, Mark hears a story from another hiker. a tale of lights in the San Juans, a glow that moved too fast to be natural. He listens, his heart racing, but says nothing. He carries the night with him, a weight he can't set down. The mark on his wrist never fades, a quiet reminder of the clearing, the figures, the hum. He lives his life, but the mountains are always there, in his dreams, in the corners of his vision, calling him back to the light. Mark stays in the city now, but the stars follow him, watching, waiting for him, to remember what he saw, what he felt, in that endless space beyond the world. And so, dear listener, we come to the end of our journey through the stars, where the unknown brushes gently against the edges of our world. These 12 tales, each a whisper from the vastness of the cosmos, have carried us across deserts, forests, seas, and skies, into moments where ordinary lives touched something extraordinary. From Clara's starlit meadow to the silent figures in the night, these stories linger, like echoes of a dream you can't quite grasp. They remind us how small we are beneath the endless sky, how the universe stretches far beyond what we can see. Yet, sometimes, it reaches out, leaving its mark in quiet, fleeting ways. As you rest here, let these stories settle into your mind, soft and weightless, like stardust falling through the night. The hum of the desert, the glow in the forest, the figures on the rooftop. They're threads in a tapestry too vast to understand, yet they weave a kind of calm, a mystery that invites you to drift. The stars are still out there, watching over the world, their light a gentle guide into sleep. Feel your breath slow, your body soften, as the echoes of these encounters fade into the stillness of your dreams. Imagine yourself floating now, weightless in the quiet of space, the stars flickering around you, distant but kind. The figures, the lights, the hum, they're part of the universe's song, a melody that plays just beyond our hearing. Let it carry you, not into fear, but into wonder, a place where the unknown is a soft embrace. The desert roads, the mountain trails, the ocean's depths, they're all part of this world, this night, this moment where you rest, safe and warm, under the same sky that holds these mysteries. The tales we've shared are like constellations, patterns we trace in the dark, each one a story of someone who looked up and saw something more. They're not here to startle you, but to lull you, to remind you that the universe is vast, yet it holds you gently. As you close your eyes, picture the meadow's glow, the lighthouse's beam, the highway's silent craft, all fading into the soft hum of the night. They're stories now, memories that belong to the stars, leaving you to drift in their quiet aftermath. Feel the weight of the day slip away, the questions of these encounters dissolving into the calm, the figures in the shadows, the lights in the sky. They're out there, perhaps, but for now, they're distant, their gaze softened by the night. Let your thoughts wander among the stars, each one a story, each one a dream, guiding you deeper into rest. The universe is endless, but here, in this moment, you are held, safe in the quiet of your own space. Sleep now, dear listener, with the stars above and the stories within. Let the hum of the cosmos be your lullaby, the lights a gentle flicker at the edge of your dreams. The meadow, the highway, the sea, they're all part of this vast, beautiful unknown, and you're part of it too. Rest well, and perhaps in your dreams, you'll find a piece of the mystery, a whisper from the stars calling you softly into the night. Good night.